Hello one and all, welcome to Seeing Through Glass. Welcome to the new Porsche 718 Spyder RS. Now the easiest way to describe this car is a GT4 RS with a soft top. Porsche basically want you to think of this car as a roadster, as a roofless sports car. We'll get into the fact later that there is a soft top that comes with this thing, but Porsche want you to leave it at home. Saves weight, and it's supposed to give you a more authentic Spyder RS experience when the car is open to the elements. And today, we're here in Germany, and whilst it's middle of the summer, we're expecting big thunderstorms today, like a lot of rain. It's going to make experiencing the Spyder RS quite interesting, because whilst it's not track focused like all other RS models, it is the ultimate version of this car and still pretty dialed in. So driving it in what we're expecting to be, well, very wet conditions could be interesting. But by interesting, I also mean fun. So let's get the hood up and enjoy ourselves. Found a hat that Porsche left for me. It's probably a better look than driving around in this car with my anorak hood up. That's never a good look. Anyway, I promise I'm not just driving around in this convertible sports car in the rain with the roof down, or on this occasion off, just because I'm British. I know it's a cliched British sports car enthusiast thing to do, but there are two other reasons. Firstly, because I genuinely believe that if Porsche's GT department had their way, they would have built and sold this car without a roof at all. But I imagine commercial pressures meant that they had to come up with some kind of wet weather option. So yeah, I'm trying to enjoy it like the GT department intended for me to enjoy it. But secondly, and more importantly, I'm doing this because of a video that really inspired me like 5 or 6 years ago. It's one that Jethro Bovington made, I think for Evo magazine, where he was driving a Ferrari 458 Speciale Aperta in the pouring rain in Italy. And it looked like he was just having an absolute blast. Now, I do not have 1/10 of the skill or ability that Jethro does when it comes to driving or talking about cars, but I've always wanted to kind of recreate that format and have as much fun as it looked like he was having on that day. So yeah, here we are in Germany, a miserable day in a car that, well, probably isn't supposed to be enjoyed on days like today, but, well, I think having a blast. And it's really not difficult to have a blast when you hear how this thing sounds. I feel like I've made a really poor choice there. All that amazing bread and I went for a plain croissant. I'm not really sure what I was thinking. I just got overwhelmed by the amount of choice. But anyway, look at this, the sun has come out. I don't know what's going on with this weather today. A moment ago I was in a monsoon, but yeah, now I can work on my tan. Pretty mega. But I can also admire the way this car looks. Because of the heavy rain, I haven't really had a chance yet to kind of just stand back and admire the thing. I've been trying not to get soaking wet. But yeah, sitting here now, the sunshine glinting off the paintwork, and kind of take it in all its glory. Important to say, this is a non-Weissach pack car, which means it's missing some carbon fibre, but I actually think that's kind of a good thing, because like the new GT3 RS, the Weissach packed Spyder RS gets that kind of half painted, half carbon fibre front bonnet, which I'm just not a fan of, so I think the fully painted front bonnet looks better. Loads of other sort of aggressive details that lets you know it's an RS and not a standard Spyder. Most noticeably, I think the sort of ducktail, or they even called it a swan-tail rear spoiler. Having said that, it all just feels a bit familiar. I think maybe because the 718 is kind of old now. 7 years old maybe? This is its last hurrah. We'll get back to the kind of, I don't know, sentimental or emotional meaning of that. But just as a thing, as cool as it is, doesn't necessarily visually excite me in the same way that a new 911 does, like the Sport Classic or the new 3RS, or even a Taycan or other Porsche products. It just feels like maybe we've seen it before, even though we haven't. Does that make sense? Obviously, all of that fades away, and it really doesn't matter the minute you start the engine and start driving the thing. But yeah, just sitting here now, I'm kind of looking at my coffee more than I'm looking at the car. Maybe if it's a bright colour, that would be different. I don't know. Seems to be getting a lot of attention and appreciation from the locals. So yeah, anyway, for now, let's enjoy this weather because I'm not sure how long it's going to last. So I'll down my espresso quickly and then we'll jump back in the car. Now, whilst the rain has stopped for a moment, the roads are still super wet and this car is wearing Michelin Cup 2 tyres, which means, well, it's super slippery out here, so I'm having to be very cautious. But I found myself on this kind of mountain pass and I thought I have to take the opportunity to try and have some fast fun in this thing before the rain comes back. Oh. Now, for those of you that saw my GT4 RS review, you'll know my biggest kind of bugbear or issue with that car was the ride quality. In the UK, it's just too firm. And whilst I don't really want to comment on the ride quality of this car in this video, because I'm here on beautifully smooth German roads, I will tell you that the springs of this car are softer than a 4RS. And that's because this is the first Porsche RS which is not aimed exclusively at track use. RS models are usually, yeah, all about ultimate track performance. They're track day toys. This is supposedly ultimate country road performance. So, despite the fact it is super slippery out here, this is where this car should be at its best. And here we go, a little bit of a dry road section. I mean, I don't want to say this car is all soundtrack, but it's impossible to ignore the incredible soundtrack. Obviously, just like my GT3, this thing revs up all the way to 9,000 RPM, and it's all happening 30 centimeters from my ear. These air intakes that rise up above the engine cover, they're just sucking the air in and powering that engine and motivating you to go faster and faster and faster. I just swung by the official lunch stop for today, caught up with some of the people from Porsche, had a chat about the car and ate a delicious salad. Clearly the GT department keen to save weight wherever they can for the Spyder RS, even if that's with the driver. Anyways, you might be able to tell the wind's picked up, clouds have rolled back in, and whilst that does not scare me, I thought for this next drive I'd put the roof on. Firstly to show you all how it goes on, but also so I can experience driving the car with the kind of canopy above me. Now look, this is not necessarily a straightforward process, but I've done it 3 or 4 times off camera and I feel like I've got the knack of it. So I thought what I'd do is time myself putting the roof on the Spyder RS. Because if, like me, you've kind of relaxed into things, taken your hoodie off, got rid of the raincoat, but then suddenly the heavens open, you think, oh my God, I actually do need some cover now. We all need to know how long that's going to take, right? So, I'm going to limber up ever so slightly. Actually, no, you know what? I'm going to do this at a normal, relaxed pace. Just, you know, let's be realistic here. So, 3, 2, 1, go. Now, unlike the standard 718 Spyder, the Spyder RS roof is a full manual operation. You've got to pretty much do it all yourself. And you can do it by yourself because this top roof element, for example, weighs just 8 kilograms. So you can lift it up fairly easily and simply you kind of slot it into place on the top of the windscreen. Usually quite easy to do, but as you can see here, well, I dropped it on this occasion. It's obviously not that straightforward, but no, I mean, that was the first and only time that I did that. Usually you just kind of place it on top of the windscreen and somehow it holds itself in place. You just use this clip to then lock it into position. Once that's done, you unfold the canvas element, kind of rest it on top of the headrests at the back,
there are a couple of hooks either side to actually slot it into the headrest. Then you have to sort of fasten the tension string. I don't really know any of the technical terms for this roof, by the way. But you can see you sort of lock this kind of string into place, which then firms things up. Now we're going for the full wet weather roof option, so there's another element you have to take out of the rear boot. And this actually has a bit of a glass rear windscreen, so you have to be a bit careful as you unfold it, not to scratch that glass, but it's pretty easy to do. And you just clip it into place onto that first part of the roof using 3 buttons there. You can see I've already done the first, and you just line them up, clip that into place. It's pretty straightforward to do, but the buttons can be a bit fiddly at times. You've got to kind of stretch over the car. Now this, I think, is the hardest part. You've got to kind of bend this final segment around the edge of the car, clip it onto a metal pole, and put the base into a hole just behind the driver's doors. I think this is where you might end up scratching paintwork over time, but yeah, you kind of get the hang of it. But you just got to be very careful, as I say, that you're not bashing anything on the way. Then the roof is pretty much in place, so you've got to put the rear clamshell down, make sure you don't trap any of the material. And the final segment is actually the most rewarding and really clever part. It's kind of skis that you pull off the top and slot into these fasteners.
Okay, 2 minutes, about 2 minutes, not that quick. Maybe if it was my own car, I'd be a bit more heavy-handed with some of the elements and get that down to like 145 or 130, but I mean, I proved earlier, you don't need the roof, just leave it at home, get wet, you'll be absolutely fine. But now it's on, let's find out what it's like to drive with the canopy. Yeah, Sam, I can never get tired of that noise, but maybe I could. The crazy thing about this car is, because so much of the sound comes from just over my left shoulder, really from that intake, because look, if I turn the exhaust off, it makes no change to the noise, because it's all happening here. When you have the roof off, after a while you just get this ringing in your left ear. The right ear is fine. The left ear goes a little bit deaf. When I got to lunch, anytime anyone to the left of me asked a question, I was like, what? What did you say? Which isn't great. Okay, the roof is covering it a bit, but it's a very noisy car. And that is great, and it is cool. And it actually, it's kind of baffling that Porsche have been allowed to make a car this noisy, considering today's regulations, etc. Sounds to me like a 70s rallying 911, if I'm honest, but still. It's just, I think, on a long trip, it might get a bit much, and I thought putting the roof on may just about buy you some, well, buy you back a bit of your hearing, but no, it's so loud. Boys and girls, welcome to the L277, a fantastic road somewhere south of Stuttgart. It's the perfect road, I think, for this car. It's tight, it's twisty, and the corners just keep on coming. Look, don't get me wrong, this is a fast car in a straight line. It's got 500 horsepower, but compared to some other modern mid-engine sports cars, I don't know, it feels like you kind of really got to get into the revs, get up through the gears before it feels like you're really flying. But show this thing a corner, and my God, it comes to life. The way you can place this thing and position it, how late you can get on the brakes, the whole thing is just so confidence inspiring. It feels trustworthy. I feel like I'm out here, me in the car, 2 great mates just out for a drive. If Porsche went out with the aim to build the ultimate Sunday morning drive car, well, they've done it. This thing would be tapping at your window being like, come on, we are missing the good light, because it just wants to be who? It wants a road that's quiet, that's got no traffic. It wants the roof off so you can smell the trees, and on this occasion the dampness of soundtrack and you can just drive. It doesn't feel like many cars give you this pure driving pleasure experience anymore. And whilst you could argue the 4RS has it, for me, I didn't gel with that car because it was too RS, it was too focused. This has just dialed it back enough that it feels super serious, but enjoyable. On a road like this, I still can't say how this car will perform in the UK, but we've got some roads like this. Just take it to Wales. It would be worth it. Look, there are still a few things which mark it down for daily use. I mentioned the soundtrack, the fact that I think maybe some of it's a bit old now, but it's just a thing to get out and drive. Yeah, it's hard to beat. Look, I could sit here and try and compare it with my GT3, but they're different products. It's not got the same front end, I would say. It's not got the same, well, apex stability, if that makes sense. But there's no point in nitpicking. Different cars for different occasions. This is a joy. And apparently, that's what it was made for. Having fun. So well done, Porsche. You've done it again. I thought I'd take a quick break because it all just got a bit intense, didn't it? Happens to me a lot on these press drives. You're in a great new car, you find a beautiful road, you're going fast, you're like, oh, it's amazing! So I just want to take 2 minutes to sit down, let the adrenaline wear off, and to contemplate how I feel about that car when I'm not behind the wheel of it. It's not to say what I just said isn't true though. I do think that's one of the most pure, enjoyable driving experiences that you can go out and buy on today's market. I think I figured out why. Because that's a Boxster. Let's not forget, somewhere deep down inside of that car, it's a Boxster. Okay, it's the ultimate version and the final version, but because it's a Boxster, it somehow feels approachable. Like I just said, 500 horsepower is a lot, but I got in that car this morning and just straight away went, oh, it's just a fast Boxster. So I was 10/10 straight away, which is maybe unwise, but I think if I was here driving the new GT3 RS or GT2 RS, a new 911 Speedster or something like that, I'd be a bit more intimidated. It would take me a while to figure it out. But because it's just a Boxster, I'm like, oh yeah. And it rewards you for just getting in and thrashing the thing. Like I was just saying, it's trustworthy. It's a car that, well, you feel like you're in it together. You're not fighting each other. You're just going, let's just get the maximum out of this moment and out of this road. Like I said earlier, the great thing about the Spyder RS compared to the 4RS is you can enjoy it when you're not going 10/10. So I know I was just like, oh, I want you to just go crazy. But the good thing is if you can't go crazy, it's still nice. But, it's an RS product. It's still compromised in some ways. The noise is definitely too much for a longer journey or for an elder gentleman like me, or maybe for a partner who's not really into their cars. And I don't know about this ride thing. I will say the ride has been lovely today, but these roads are lovely. I have to drive this car in the UK to be able to tell you whether it's definitely softer than a 4RS. One of the Porsche guys at lunch did bang on about the fact that he owns a standard 718 Spyder and this car is definitely softer than that one. I was like, okay. But apparently the way that they've adapted the dampers is also pretty damn special. So I would have this car a million times over a 4RS. But what I said about the 4RS also remains true. I wouldn't have this over a 911 product, a GT3 and 911 Speedster, etc., because it's a Boxster. So as cool as it is, as great as it is, as exciting as it is, if I had it in my lineup next to a GT3 or many other cars, I'm picking it for the perfect day, the perfect road, not necessarily the lap around London on the M25 and into Surrey. Do you know what I mean? Like it's a hard one to really pin down because I really like it, but there's a but, and I just haven't quite worked out what the but is, and maybe it's the fact that I'm spoiled by having a GT3 at home, and it just is a bit better than GT3. Anyway, I'm going to sit here and enjoy my peach juice. I went back to that bakery and got some lovely sugary shortbread, which is well, I'm not going to help with the weight saving of the Spyder RS, but who cares? And yeah, I'll just take a moment just to chill out. And then sadly, we're going to have to head back to the hotel and give that car back to Porsche, which I am 100% sad about. 100% sad about. Yeah, I can't quite believe it, but I've gone against my own rule or agenda for the day, and I've kept the roof on. I was shooting some Instagram content with the roof on. It suddenly started pouring with rain. I just couldn't be arsed taking it off. That's the problem. Whilst you do get quicker and quicker at doing it, it's just a bit of a faff. That's why I say just don't bring the roof with you, because you'll be fine with it off. But once it's on, you're loath to go through the whole thing and taking it off. Anyway, it is what it is. I'm 5 kilometers from the hotel, so I really need to sum up my experience and my thoughts on this car. I feel like I've figured it out. It's a toy, this thing. A complete toy, as all RSs are. Usually, track toys. This, just a road toy or a Sunday morning drive toy, as I keep mentioning. For multiple reasons. Firstly, the way it drives and performs and its character. Also, its price. It's going to be 140 grand with all the nice options. That's if you can get one list. Let's face it, very few people can get one list. Unless you've bought 58 Macans. I think most Porsche dealerships in the UK would kind of laugh at you if you went in saying, hi there, I'd like to order a Spyder RS. Which means that they're going to end up on the used market, silly numbers like 300 grand or something. And at that point, I mean, it's ridiculous. Because at 300 grand, there are plenty of cars that will be, I would say, better on a Sunday morning drive. So, yeah, it's a toy because collectors will have them and use them on the odd occasion for a bit of fun. If you're lucky enough to have got one, I think you'll probably do the same. I imagine this will not be your only car. If you are out there dailing a Spyder RS, you are my hero. I love you. I want to be your best friend. I just don't think it's really going to happen. And if I'm honest, I think it would be most rewarding using it on the odd occasion. I think that's when you would just get the most out of it. If you used it every day, maybe it would, I don't know, wear off the specialness. I'm not sure, but yeah, a brilliant thing. It's something that I would love to have going in again, which I did not say about the 4RS. And whilst I promised I wouldn't touch on it too much, I have to talk about the ride. It has been very good today. It really has been lovely, the ride. Smooth, not jittery. Yes, firm, but in an enjoyable way. So, look, fingers crossed, Porsche GB will let me have a go in their press car once it turns up. I'll take it on a proper UK adventure in all weather conditions and reflect again on what it's like as a car to live with. Maybe I'm wrong. But anyway, there we go. That's how I'll end today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. Give it a thumbs up if you have, and make sure you're subscribed for plenty more videos to come. Let's finish off in style.